Hey guys, welcome to game 2, FlufflyFlow versus Tinkertonk. Tinkertonk was able to take the first game. Again, don't have the fun transitions because I don't have most of the stuff that Zero uses to run this side of the, that side of the stream. Kind of an unfortunate reality of things. And hey, Andy Citizen's hanging out. Good to see you, man. And here we go. In a 3 and a 2 and a 1. Blah, blah, blah. In the top left here on Daedalus Point, it is our Protoss player, who is starting as the random pieces, getting the toss. It is none other than Tinkertonk. Oh yeah. In the bottom right, we have his opponent. Sporting the orange, it is the Terran player, FlufflyFlow. Now, FlufflyFlow was originally supposed to be playing Orky today. Unfortunately, we can't find him. I have no idea what happened to him. So, unfortunately, we had to grab a sub. We don't have Josh for the stream, but nonetheless, the show matches continue. Also, I am streaming this at 480, as you can see, kind of like low bit rate 480, but we are recording this at HD, so you will have lovely HD for the VODs. And Daedalus Point. This map has the biggest ramp I have ever seen, actually, on any map. I mean, it compares really with the maps that don't have ramps at all, like the really old ones, Zelnaga Caverns. Huge open space to attack. In fact, there was 2. Honestly, what a lot of Protoss had to do was go for like more of the gateway attacky things, take advantage of the size of the map being so small, and get a lot of force fields. It was a very messy map, and there's a lot of people that fear that may be the same for this as well. Probe moving out for the scout. Terran running up here. Now, honestly, in this matchup, it doesn't matter quite as much because you don't have a Zerg playing. When you have the Zerg playing, yeah, this becomes really difficult for anybody to wall off properly with. But here, what matters more is the size of the main. As you can see here, all this space here, all this space here, all the way up here. And if you go down to the natural, another place to drop here, another place to drop here. Heck, there's even a lot of space in the back. Point I'm trying to get across, this is a great map for drop play, as far as I can tell. As long as, also given its size as well. That's the only thing that the Terran has to worry about. It's just that the map is deceptively large. So your attacks get there a little bit later than you might hope. But I'm really interested to see how this goes, because the only thing I've seen happen on this map is a 6 pool. So yeah, not a lot of information to work with. Only theory. We want practical, real information. We're going to get that today. So far, Tinkertonk looks like he's actually on top of his basic micro here. He's going to the usual 1 gas into, well, gateway gas, Cybernetic core, then grab the later assimilator. Shows off what you're doing a little bit more, since if you try to go for this style and then do anything funny like DTs, you have to grab the assimilator kind of fast so people kind of know what's going on. Usually, a lot of players will disguise it with 2 guys in each gas, go for the 3-stalker push into any other kind of tech, but not going for that here. Basically just sending the signal that he is playing standard. You'll notice there's also no probes anywhere on the map, hiding pylons at the moment. Back over in the Terran's base, usual kind of 2 barracks into factory style play. Not really anything crazy going on here. This is usually to jump up pretty quickly into a starport to get a decently timed drop. Doesn't have to, it's not super early. It's going to hit with a drop probably around 8 minutes, 30 seconds to 9 minutes. Tinkertonk never does anything funny. Well, you know, he does, but he is. He's trying to put down a starport. Tinkertonk going most likely for that Oracle play that we usually see. Very good at getting some basic damage in on the Terrans. Usually at the early games, they don't really grab those starports unless they, they don't grab those turrets unless they really feel the need to. There are a couple ways for Terrans to really just close that, though. For example, I believe there's a number of pros that like to go for the early Viking from the starport. That's one way to really shut that down. It still gets a few kills off, but you know, you won't have to worry about it any longer after that. But that build does have its weaknesses. It's not totally foolproof, so I can see why a lot of players might not necessarily be going with it there. Bottom part of the map, we have a mothership core actually in position. Not sure what he's planning to do with this. Maybe do a quick run by like a quick run by check of the base, for maybe just be watching for a natural. If he tries to go in through this space here, all he's going to see is the 2 barracks and this, which is not going to help him all that much before this thing has to recall. Looks like he might be trying to skirt around the bottom side. This is a little bit tricky, as doesn't really look like there's enough space to do this without being shot at. But there isn't anything to spot him until he hits this. And yeah, he can, I think, hide in the corner. It's going to be a little bit tough. Oh, he's actually going for Phoenixes. This is not necessarily a terrible move. This is actually something I've brought up before, is that sometimes when you go for builds that are more effective in a different matchup or more common in a different matchup, they can really, really surprise your opponent and just give you an auto win just because they don't have what they need to hold it off. Plus, there's the possibility in this situation that he actually picks up on the drop with the Phoenixes and kills it before it ever lands. That's the most ideal scenario. Least ideal scenario, the drop gets there, the Phoenixes aren't there, he has a Zealot, a Sentry, and a Stalker to hold it off and ends up losing everything. So this is a very tricky play and a very potentially dangerous one. However, unfortunately for FlufflyFlow, he really needs this to work, as there's still no sign of a command center or an attempt to expand. So if this does not happen, the Protoss is going to have an incredible economic advantage. There's the command center. Better now than later, but it's very unusual for the Protoss to be getting this first. Mothership core should just be for supply. Why do you want it to be an Overlord? Alright, I don't know. Paying a little bit too much attention to whatever any citizen is saying in the chat. It's good times. But he did add the Kappa. Gotta throw that out there for the people in the VODs. The Kappa. If you don't know what I'm talking about, you need to watch more things on Twitch. Drop coming over the center of the base here actually spots the size of the army. Ooh, almost does a little fancy drop there. With almost a fancy drop pickup with that one Marine. Does spot the size and composition of the army. Knows that his opponent is going for this expansion. But hasn't really done any damage with this. And he's nowhere near getting this command center down. Phoenixes have now shown up in the main base. There isn't really much here to help defend. There's a Widow Mine, which has done a decent amount of damage to one of them, but there's basically no anti-air otherwise. Phoenixes have free reign over the base. Only just now are any Marines actually appearing. He could actually stick around and keep just killing those off as they come out, but it looks like Tinkertonk doesn't want to spend all of his micro doing that. It's instead worried about the drop. Drop's actually moving over the front of the base now because it knows that there's nothing to really defend here. He's actually going to try and whip right up into this central area. The Phoenixes actually might get here before the drop actually completes, though. He really needs to get those units out right now. They've started to fire, and he loses 3 Marines. Just that. Unfortunately, the Marine's not able to really accomplish anything here, losing pretty much just dying to the photon overcharge, and unfortunately, that's the end of that drop. Now moving out for the command center. Dropping, trying to get that natural. Tinkertonk has an incredible lead in economy at the moment. Already having 2 base production with probes. His opponent's still taking his time on that. He's got a compositional advantage with the Phoenixes, clearly really shutting down this drop, preventing it from doing the economic damage they would normally like to before the more kind of late game pressure starts. Late game, probably like late mid game would be a better way of putting it. Regardless, double engineering bay going for those upgrades. Back home we can see that Tinkertonk is actually grabbing air upgrades and going for a second Stargate, so it looks like he wants to transition from this into an air army. This is not necessarily a bad move. It's very, very powerful if you can pull it off. But there's one unfortunate reality in Protoss economic terms that Tinkertonk is going to be running into if he tries to go down a primarily air army route, and that is, without this third base, you don't have enough gas to do it. It looks like he's already aware of that. He might be, as we speak, getting ready to set up this base, but he needs to get this down. If he really wants to go for this big air army, this is an absolute requirement. And if he can't hold this base, or if he takes too much damage up here while trying to hold that base, then he'll be in a lot of trouble. For FlufflyFlow, that means recognizing what's going on early enough that he can actually start the pressure and perhaps kill off the Phoenixes. Phoenixes are coming down for another attempt at some pressure. They're actually going to dive into the natural first, most likely take a lot of hits here. Should still be able to pick off a few workers with this as long as he has good control. Coming down for the attacks, able to pick up 1, 2 workers. Going to lose 1 Phoenix in the process, though. Really needs to keep those alive. That's pretty much what's convincing FlufflyFlow not to be dropping all over his base right now. That's the thing about it, right? It is weird to see him play a normal game. I agree with that, Anti-Citizen. Talking about Tinkertonk up here. Though I like how he's still putting a weird spin on it. It's still not really a normal game. Not really. He has basically no area of effect damages, instead trying to go for big, powerful single units in the form of Void Rays. This is actually going to probably hurt him if FlufflyFlow keeps going for this base composition of just Marines and Marauders, though. As time goes on, the Marines just get way too good against this composition, and without anything to back them up, like in the form of Templar or Colossus. Also, this thing is making that annoying word noise that haunts my dreams from playing on Josh's map too much. Anyway, up here, a lot of Marines coming out, medevacs, pretty much everything you'd expect. Did grab one Widow Mine earlier. I actually wouldn't mind seeing a couple more of these. A very, very good splash damage effect against this kind of army. Really, really weakens it. But yeah, as time goes on, I think we're going to see a timing here, while this base is getting established, where this army is going to be really, really vulnerable. I wonder if FlufflyFlow is going to be going to exploit that. It looks like for now, he's not doing any real attempt to expand. I mean, a scout, there we go. Worker running out across the map. Needs to make sure he actually pays attention to what that does. Considering a move out here? Yeah, it looks like it. For whatever reason. There you go. Not keeping the medevacs with the army. Is he trying to go down here to consider expanding? Or is he just gonna run up past the watchtower? The watchtowers on this map, just realize, they cover the side pathways. They don't cover the center. So running through this space here actually keeps your army disguised if your opponent has both watchtowers. So, oddly enough, well, doesn't really matter in this particular situation, as Tink has not thought to do this. Army is actually out at the front here. A carrier? Oh boy. This is powerful if you have, like, 12. If you have 1 or 2, it's, I don't know, it'll probably confuse the AI a little bit. They'll end up shooting at the interceptors for a second before your opponent realizes what's going on. But, yeah, this is a scary situation. Whoa. He really could just walk straight up here and kill this base. He actually does not need to go for the mass drop, but unfortunately this is going to do a lot of damage. He's actually going to end up right on top of all the Stargates that are actually building all the units that Tinkertonk is relying for the improvement of his army. If he's able to kill these off, it's going to put him really far behind. All 3 of the units have been canceled. 1 Stargate goes down, 2 Stargates go down, and the 3rd is soon to follow along with another pylon. There's actually a number of forces attacking at the front here as well. These Marines are going to get slaughtered, but it's not going to stop this group up here from killing off this Nexus. Entire base has gone down along with the production. The air army is engaging away from the rest of the units. The Void Rays are doing extra damage. No, they're not, because they're fighting Marines. Marines are doing a decent number on the Kyria's interceptors. They actually weren't focusing down the Void Rays, and this is the only way for him to really lose in this situation. However, all that stated, so much gas was just lost. Oh my gosh, this is. I hate to say this, but as long as FlufflyFlow is keeping up on his production back home, which you can see he's more or less doing, and he might have just remembered to do it now, actually, because I'm not seeing any Marines out. As long as he gets a decently sized army up, what's going to happen is Tinkertonk has basically no way of replenishing this army quickly, and he's going to have to build something like a lot of Zealots, which, there you go, that's exactly what he's doing. Trying to go for another expansion, double expansion. Tinkertonk knows when he needs to take a risk, and he's doing it as fast as he can possibly do it, gotta say. This guy's decision-making is getting a lot better the more random and cheesier he becomes, which is very weird, but it's working really well in this situation, I think. If FlufflyFlow hangs back too long, this becomes an incredibly huge problem, and he's definitely going to be able to catch up. We have 1 Stargate down, going mostly for gateways. I think he still wants to commit to this idea of going carriers, but it's going to be difficult to get back up to that with having taken the kind of losses that he has. I mean, he's effectively down 2 mining bases in gas. I've mentioned in gas primarily because with a really, really big air army, that's the most important thing. The minerals, yeah, but look, he's got 2,000 of those. He's got to be worried more about this gas amount that's going to keep going down. Risky. No one denies that. I don't think even Tinkertonk would deny that. But it's darn effective if it works. It's like the Alarmobot, man. Playing that Alarmobot in Hearthstone. Day 9, as Day 9 illustrated. Very effective if it works. Also the LabBot 1X hanging out there at the front of the Zeran base, illustrating his wonderful micro as always. Bottom left we have 2 more starports. Looks like he's going to spread these out to try and hide what he's doing. Really, if he was going to do that though, I would say just don't put this one up here at all. Put it down here at this base. Too late for that though. I don't like this. Tinka going out for a move out right now is incredibly risky. He could lose everything that he actually currently has right now to this army. And then he'll be building an air army with basically no backup whatsoever. He's going to be incredibly vulnerable. Oh, unfortunately, FlufflyFlow is not reacting fast enough here. He actually is probably going to lose at least this command center. But it may not matter a whole ton because there's not enough force fields. He's not in good position to actually, put that... I don't think he actually could have actually done that anyway because it's too wide. But yeah, can't lock down that ramp. This one's too wide as well. He's pushed the army back, lost 1 carrier, and he's going to be chased all the way back to his front doorstep where these guys are going to wreak havoc on the base because there really isn't anything to defend. Dark Shrine coming out along with a carrier, but I would remind you that... oh, I guess he did keep it alive. Good for him. Very, very close, though. Anyway, he needs to send these guys back to work. He does have scans to back this up, so even though there are DTs in the army, they will not save him in this situation. Really needs to heal up this army a bit too. He might be overstimming a little bit here. Army's actually trying to follow it up into the backup here, but Force Field's not going to be able to do a whole lot in this situation. He's actually engaging up at the Terrans, and there you go. Unfortunately, it doesn't seem like he's actually noticed the DTs yet. They're doing a decent number to his units, but he's going to figure that out right now. There you go. Scan comes out. DTs die. Mothership Core is going to go down as well. Did not photon overcharge, and Tinkertonk GG's. That was awesome. Okay, first game went to Tinkertonk. Second game is going to FlufflyFlow.